Good evening. Welcome to the August 6th, 2024 Select Board meeting. We're going to call this meeting to order at 6:10 p.m. Well, we'll start right off with our scheduled appointment of 6 p.m. Skip Donnell, Fire Chief.
How do you do?
Good.
And Emergency Management Director.
Okay. I guess I'm here as the emergency manager as well as the fire chief, from what I understand. I'm not sure everything you might want to talk about, but I'll speak on the emergency management side first. Obviously, I've been the emergency manager for a long period of time, and it has been brought to my attention that the select board was curious as to what training they should have, being the administrators, in regards to emergency management and the federal guidelines and whatnot. There are two training programs in the incident command system. It's ICS 100 and ICS 200 that are recommended to be taken by the governing body. So those are available online. They can be taken directly online from the FEMA website. There's also a third one that they're just starting to roll out, and it's ICS 402. It's an strictly administrative training in as far as that's concerned. So I reached out to our MEMA representative, Nathan Morrow, and confirmed the ICS 100 and 200. And just so you folks are aware, he's more than willing to come up and do the ICS 100 and 200 training for you folks if you would like to have him come up at a time that you could schedule, to go through that. You still have to, excuse me, you still have to go online and take the test to show that you've completed the training. But it's not a very long training, and he's willing to do it for you if you would like. Or you can just go online and you can take that training at your leisure. So I don't know if there is any other questions as far as emergency management. We have a comprehensive emergency management plan for Northfield, and that gets updated every single year. Myself and Amanda and Nathan, the three of us usually sit down and go over that plan. And it's basically what we have for resources for, it starts with the Board of Selectmen, and then goes to the emergency manager, and then the police chief, the fire chief, the highway superintendent, all the different town agencies, Board of Health and whatnot, to make sure that all those contacts at the state level are kept up and are updated. So it's called the CEMP plan, CEMP, and that plan is public knowledge. You can be taken a look at it at any point in time. But that's kind of what governs and oversees what Northfield has for their emergency management plan. And that's a template that is used basically statewide. So that plan is kept up to date. So, and usually, Amanda and I make sure that that's current and updated. And there's really not much changes to it. But anyway, that plan is in place. So I didn't know if you had any questions in regards to that. I think there was a question that arose when we lost the 911 coverage. Okay, when the dispatch center, actually it was a statewide loss of telecommunications, and the 911 system went down. So police, fire, and EMS were notified fairly quickly that there was a problem with 911. And it went on for, at first they thought it was going to be short term, then it turned out to be a lot longer term than what they had anticipated. Because I've been down this road before with dispatch for similar issues, not necessarily 911, but when they've lost their radio system, or they cannot tone out departments or whatever. So I initiated, and I asked the question, should we man our station as we have done in the past? And the dispatch came back and said, yeah, that's probably a pretty good idea. Shortly after that, they actually sent out a notice by radio to all the fire departments in the area that if they could manpower-wise staff their stations, it would be a good thing to do. What happened was there was a telecommunication issue, and the 911 system went down throughout the state. Dispatch only had 2 designated phone lines that they could take any type of a call on, and they didn't want those 2 numbers published because they were afraid of getting an influx. And once those lines are tied up, they don't cascade to anybody. So if somebody tried to call in an emergency, they just get a busy signal. So basically what we did is I called in a couple people to staff our fire department, our fire station, and we sent out a reverse 911 message to all the residents that if there was emergency, police, fire, or EMS, to call the fire station, because we had direct communications with dispatch, and we could also communicate directly to our cruiser and to our EMS folks. I went down to the EMS building and talked to the crew that was on duty and explained what we were doing, that we were going to be manning our fire station, that we were going to send out a reverse 911 to all the community, so that if there was an emergency, the 911 system was down, they could call the fire station number. So I also contacted, I can't remember which officer was on duty, but I also came across the cruiser on duty and explained the same thing, that the fire station, until this 9/11 issue was resolved, we were going to be manned, and if we got any emergency calls, we were just going to make sure they got relayed and the appropriate agency got toned out. So, so that's what we did. We did that probably in the first 15 to 20 minutes of the situation. So we tried to apprise our residents through reverse 911, our code red system, as well as the emergency agencies that were involved, that we had some type of mechanism in place to receive calls as well as get the appropriate agency dispatched out. So, and I guess there was, I don't know if it's information or misinformation, was on social media. And to that extent, I'm not sure what was published. I'm not sure if it was accurate, but I know everything that we did up to that point was accurate and was functional. So I don't know if there are any other questions on that day. Bernie?
I believe somebody published something on social media, and they had a different number had a number for you, a number for the fire, for the police department, and a number for EMS.
Okay.
So I don't,
They were the individual department Facebook pages were different.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think
So-
that part of the communication needs to be buttoned up. That
Yeah,
was the,
okay.
I think that
Yeah.
was the
All right.
lesson learned from that piece,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, that was the only thing I thought of.
Yeah.
'Cause
you
all
don't wanna
three
put
were
too many numbers out
communicating.
there.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I can talk with both John and Northfield EMS, because
Yeah.
I did go down to Northfield EMS actually before I got back to the station, just to touch base with the on-duty crew, because if they had published their number, that means they have to staff that phone.
Right, and then that
So-
means if they're going out on a call, given their staffing situation,
Right.
that's a potential.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a potential issue, so.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, what we've done in the past has been, whether it's been an ice storm, whether it's been a dispatch, it's been this dispatch radio issue, which has happened a few times with this new 800 system, or if it's been a console issue, we've staffed our station and we've been the contact out there. So the good, and the good thing is, it gives the townspeople just one number to call for fire, police, or for any emergency. And then we'll relay it or make sure the message gets to the appropriate agency pretty quickly, because we can do it by radio, as long as our radio systems are up, and they were that day. So, yeah, if there's other numbers being out there, we can button that up. I can
because people
I
are
can
going to
address
do that, and then
Yeah.
they start distributing it, right?
Yeah.
And then you get this ripple effect.
Yeah.
I think the other thing
Yeah.
that needs to be buttoned up, and that's why I've always asked about the incident command training, is where does the select board fit? When's the chair get notified? The town administrator, because
Yeah.
we could have put something up on the webpage
On
on
the
the town
webpage, yep.
right?
Okay.
And then that sends out its own email too.
Yep.
And a lot of people are on that. But I don't think I've ever looked at the CEMP. I don't
Yeah,
think we've ever
same thing.
discussed it as a select board,
Okay.
at least in my time frame.
What MEMA would like to see is
Yeah, that's what we want. What do you want us to do
Well,
as a part of an emergency, I guess? Yeah.
Obviously, the biggest key for the select board is if you have to declare a state of emergency, which opens the town up for reimbursement should the damages be extended enough throughout the area, and not just Northfield, to meet the federal thresholds. It's always a good idea if we get hit hard by a storm and there's a lot of pre-damage, or there's a lot of overtime needed by emergency personnel, as well as highway and whatnot, that if we can recoup any of the costs, that gets negated if you have not declared your state of emergency. So that's why, when we have those situations, I've made sure that we've done a state of emergency. That has to be authorized by the executive board.
And Skip will come to your house.
And I will come to your house with the order, and then we will enter it into the MEMA system. So the administrative side of any kind of an emergency, which means paying the bills and absorbing the costs and whatnot, is definitely the select board's responsibility. Okay, the emergency manager can just recommend, they can direct, and we, I do things to make sure that everybody, all the services like highway and police and EMS and fire and whatnot are aware of what's going on. We try to facilitate reaching out to people, especially either the elderly or the people who have health issues. So we work collectively with EMS to make sure we reach out and touch those people that are affected. So it's an accountability type of thing. And that's generally, other than that, that's kind of what the emergency management team does. We go to quarterly meetings down in Agawam as far as the regional meetings and whatnot. So we've got a pretty good rapport with everybody, and I would like to see more people signed up on Code Red. That's the way we reach out and touch people, but it's up to them to sign up for it and whatnot. We just went through a revision of the Code Red where we now have the town clerk can send out administrative messages. John has gone through the training as well, so John Hall now knows how to activate the Code Red. And two types of messages can go out on that. One is an emergency message, and the other one is more of a informational message. And people who sign up for Code Red can decide which or both, which they would like. Some people have signed up that only want to be contacted by Code Red, reverse 911 if there's an emergency. Others have signed up for both the emergency and the informational. So I know the town clerk was going to use it as far as announcing
Just
town meeting,
elections.
elections and town meeting, just as a memo out there. The town hasn't used it, nor do I propose that they use it for a whole lot of different informational things, okay? But anyway, it's a service that we provide, and it's funded through the emergency management budget, and it's a very useful tool, because and it gives you a percentage of how many people you have reached, okay? And you can be reached by phone call, you can be reached by text, you can be reached by email, however you decide to be contacted through the code red system. So it is a very fast and good way of us being able to reach out to the citizens, to let them know what's going on, and you know, what's being done. So to make sure that they're protected.
Do you have a sense of how many people we have in Code Red?
I actually don't know. Well, I believe it's well over 1,200 contacts. Is what it is. So, but some of those contacts are both mobile phone and home phone for the same person. So I don't know actually how many residents. It's probably
unique.
It's less than
Yeah.
that. So, but that's the data that they do give us. The good thing is that we'll also track if somebody isn't home and it goes to an answering machine, that message still goes through.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a good thing about the Code Red. And what I've always tried to do is when the emergency is over, is done, I usually do another Code Red message out to the residents that everything is back to normal, you know, so they can now go back to their normal lives. Everything has been resolved, so.
I would like, I mean, so we had a very unusual situation here just reasonable,
Yeah.
just recently. And I would like to discuss maybe, I mean, I think we could put, if the town says that the firehouse is the place where we're gonna reach out to emergency, maybe we post it downstairs on the place that's always open 24 hours. So if somebody comes
the
in,
hallway
down
down there?
hallway, yeah.
Okay.
And maybe we
Yeah.
do a little bit of education, kind of
Yeah.
prophylactically,
Yep.
so that people know that number. Because there's, you know, we always have new people coming into town,
Yeah.
or people who haven't heard, or
Right.
now I'm grown up, I never thought about it when I was a kid, that kind of thing.
And the other thing I was mentioning is what MEMA would like to see, it's tough to do. They would like to see all the agencies do a training, which would be police, fire, EMS, Board of Health, Select Board, Highway, everybody to do just at least a tabletop drill or tabletop training. So that's something that Nathan can work with us on as well. So.
Is that the 100 or 200 that you're talking about?
No, that would be in addition to the one ICS 100 and 200. They would like to see a community do a tabletop
Emergency
drill.
exercise, like a
Drill.
walkthrough?
Yeah, like a walkthrough.
Yeah.
Should probably have everybody certified
Yeah.
before we do that. drill.
Yeah,
That
I would,
way.
Yeah.
I would go through the training and the certification, because that'll give you
Yeah.
a basis of what
Okay.
you're gonna be expected to
Because
to do.
then your actual role starts coming through in your
Yeah,
tabletop
they'd be defined,
exercise.
yes.
Yeah, I think we've never done that
Yeah,
in yours,
Okay.
no? Yeah.
so,
I think that's what I've always thought, because I know in case of some sort of extended emergency, the town hall administrator, secretary, et cetera, plus the select board are responsible for communication on some level, because you're handling the emergency communication. So you're not doing public outreach or communication at the same time.
not as a rule.
And that's something we've never discussed, and my concern is similar to Sarah's in that it needs to be preventative, but as well as once we're in one, we shouldn't kind of be like reading the book at the same time.
Yeah. So the ICS 100, 200 training will definitely give you a basis
Okay.
as far as what you need. It's up to you folks if you'd like Nathan to come up, or if you want to do that online. I mean, that's just let me know if you'd like him to come up, that's all. He's more than willing
That's
to.
similar to the OSHA 40 hour?
It's kind of similar to it, yeah.
So
Yeah.
how much time does that take online? Or in
It's been
person,
a
do
while
you know?
It's been a while since I took mine quite a number of years
I
ago.
did
but
too, in
I would-
person.
I say it's
Probably
2
a
hours, I think.
couple hours, maybe.
Oh, in
It's not
person
extensive,
or online?
Online.
yeah. And Nathan could probably go through it quicker than that.
It's
so-
longer as you go up in levels. So
Yeah.
like 100 is
Yeah.
pretty basic. It
Okay.
teaches you,
Yeah.
you know, who's communications people,
command
who's
structure.
security. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's
Teaches you incident command.
Yeah.
and pretty much where your job role would fall.
It's not like
Yeah.
40 hours.
Oh, God,
no,
no,
no.
oh, no.
But once you get up to like 700,
Yeah.
1,000,
Yes.
like it's I've done them all, and it's like,
That's
Those
long.
are for incident commanders.
That's long.
Yeah,
People
okay.
that are run the
That
event.
is
Right,
long,
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
So,
they get long.
yes.
Yeah, the 40 hour
The bigger
takes
the number,
40
the
hours.
longer.
Well, how about we
Yeah.
take it online? I don't know what anybody else thinks, but how about we take it online so we get familiar with the concepts if we're,
Yeah.
not coming from an emergency background. And then, sync up with you in terms
Yep.
of Nathan
Sure.
and doing some sort of tabletop
Yeah.
exercise at
So
some
we would
point.
do the 100?
100
and 200. Plus the 402? What is
He's
that?
saying he
Or he would
they
do
just
that?
rolled out the 402.
Okay.
And I think he'd like to come up and talk with you
Oh.
in regards to that. So I could invite him to one of your meetings and just
So do you
kinda
want
go
to do
over that.
we could do the 100 and 200
Yeah.
online.
Got your
Have 'em-
certificate, we'll throw it in your file.
Yeah, exactly. We'll hold it up.
Yeah.
And have them come up and talk about the 402 and
Yeah.
anything and kind of expand
maybe
on
working
whatever
on-
we just learned.
And maybe working on a tabletop type
Yeah.
thing. So,
How's
yeah.
that?
Sure.
Okay,
Okay.
great.
Any questions for the emergency management side of stuff? Okay.
You may consider if you want to reach out to homeowners or residents, I guess, maybe annually through perhaps a tax bill that everybody gets,
Yeah.
just as a reminder, or
Yes.
hey, if, like as to Sarah's point, if you're now an adult and you never knew about reverse 911,
This is
Sign
what
up.
it is. Yeah.
because if you don't know it's there,
Yeah.
how are you supposed to find out it's there?
That's a very good idea because everybody does get the
Then we
tax.
could get the participants.
Everybody checks their
And they do
mail.
pay attention.
Yeah.
And then that could take up the outreach and the, maybe the sign up on Code Red.
Yeah.
We could get those numbers up.
Yeah.
And it would be a good place to also put in case everything goes
Yeah,
to hell,
exactly.
there's the phone
Yeah.
number to
Yeah.
call.
Yeah.
Call Skip.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't know your phone number.
Yeah. You don't have it in speed? No, I'm just kidding. Yeah.
The
Your
fire
cell
department?
phone, but I don't think you
So-
want us to put that out on
No, I don't want
social
that
media.
published. Thank
Yeah.
you very much.
You know, everybody's fire department is 911. If that goes
Yeah,
down, what do
exactly.
you call?
Yeah, that
That's
was.
it.
got
And that's
me
why,
thinking.
we've kind of gone through this with other issues. So it was just second nature for us I asked the dispatch the question, and they went, yeah, we're really not sure what's going on with 911. It probably would be a good idea. And then they put it out to all the departments to staff
Mm-hmm.
their stations if they could man them, and which we immediately did. So, but anyway, yes.
Great.
So, that's what I had on the emergency management side of things. I'll change my hats now to the fire chief. I sent out the last version of what I thought was the policies and procedures with some edits and some changes that were discussed in regards to the recruits and the insurance for the recruits primarily, as well as the other members, and also the discipline policy. I've since had conversation with Bee, and I've had a conversation today with Andrea, where I think there's been a little bit of confusion in regards to the original document the fire department had was what we called our bylaws, and it was a document that basically coordinated how the department is formed and how it functions and whatnot. In addition to that document, I've been working on extensively a set of standard operating guidelines, which the department does need, okay? And they need to be a written document to cover all the various aspects of what firemen are expected to do in the town of Northfield and how they do it. So.
Are those
the-
your SOGs? Is that what we were
Yeah,
talking about? Is those-
SOGs.
Okay.
Yeah,
So in the fire parlance,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
SOGs, and
yeah,
in another
yeah.
department, it's called something else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the confusion has been when we initially sent our bylaws to the attorneys, they said, well, there's things in there you can't do, and it doesn't look like this is an organizational type of document. It's more of a membership type of document, and so there was some miscommunication. So the bottom line is we have revised it. I just sent the last revision to Andrea, who forwarded it to town council, and she heard back from him today. So I think in the conversation I had with B, I think there's been some confusion as to what this bylaw revision or standard operating policies and procedures was trying to do. You know, the fire department is a call volunteer organization. We are paid for when we're fighting fires. Other than that, most of it is volunteer. And we have, and that policy was what we set, what we edited and made some changes and set forth to continue to move forward and still meet the criteria of making sure we were doing things the way we're supposed to legally and whatnot. And that's where the discipline side of the stuff came into, because from the private sector, you know, I understand that there's some things that have to be kept confidential. There's record keeping that it has to take place when discipline is given out. And in the original organizational structure, that was done more in an open fashion, and that's not allowed to be able to do that way anymore. So the discipline side was, I addressed it in the last revision. But supposedly, I haven't received it yet. I hadn't received it, but you sent it out today. He sent some edits back.
Well, yeah,
And
I
I
had
haven't
it,
had a chance to take a look at those edits.
right.
And he was also gonna send you a comment, which you haven't
He's
received
gonna send me
yet.
an email. He had court
Okay.
this
Yeah.
afternoon, so he
Okay.
didn't really get a chance. I sent it to him. You sent this to me Thursday and I sent it to
Yeah.
him Friday, and we just haven't had enough time. I think that, sorry, I'm letting John in for the next meeting. I think that your discussion was timely.
Yep.
Oh, sorry, we're in the middle. We gotta be quiet, John.
I don't know if you can hear me, but I can
Yes.
hear you.
Okay. Oops. I can't get this stupid. Yes, we can hear you, and Skip's still on. So,
Now I hear you.
all right. Well, we'll let you know.
Hi again, John.
Okay, so let me hear the meeting. So anyway, I think the confusion is, I think we boiled down a lot of it.
Yeah.
I think the confusion is, first of all, the titles, policies, procedures,
Yeah,
and operating
right.
guidances, and we've kind of gotten some understanding of what's going on there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that what's been confusing to the lawyer is he doesn't see these type of documents with separate policies from town departments.
Mm-hmm.
He said he sees them and there are towns that have police departments that have private pieces, like the building is still owned privately, or the equipment is still owned privately, and they lease it back to the town, and so they have an organizational structure that controls that. But when I told him, no, this is a full-on town department, he said, well, you probably evolved from a structure like that, because these had the date of back in some
1942.
1942.
right, where it probably evolved from something like that, but now it's a full-on town department. He said, because you wouldn't see these in a town department. You would see the standard operating procedures or guidelines,
Guides, yeah.
like you have with the police, which is
Yeah.
their policy, their procedures. And then where it's appropriate to have a policy, it's actually in the guidelines. So if your guidelines, for example, are about the junior firefighter training, you might have something that looks a little bit like a policy written into the training, but it's really part of the procedures for how that works. Like you may talk about, you may look like language on a policy on who's admitted, but it's really part of the guidance. So he said this, because it had a lot of policy about how you enter the department, how you do discipline or performance evaluation, he said, that's all town policy now. Most of this is now, like you had a social media policy and then the town had a social media policy, and you recognize that and drop it. We can't be in conflict because the town has a policy. The town has a policy on insurance. The town has, and makes decisions based on what insurances they get. For them to put a policy on insurance, That's not something the fire department has any control over, what kind of insurances the town buys. They can certainly say, we
Yeah.
need this or we'd like that, and certainly meet with the insurance agent and talk about those things. But that really doesn't go in a policy document for a department.
Yeah, the only thing that this says is the town will provide insurance. It doesn't say what type or what extent.
Well, this
or how
does.
much.
This actually gives, yours new
Okay.
one gave age limits and certain,
Yeah.
he said that's a discussion at a
Right.
policy level with the
Yeah.
select board, with the finance committee. That's where that level of discussion would take place as a policy, with a policy board,
Well,
not with a
I
department.
mean, just to clarify,
Yeah.
you're putting something in a department document that actually affects more than one department.
That's true.
So that's why it would be town
Policy.
versus fire.
Because it
is
does
that-
affect police and
Especially
EMS.
in public safety, insurance has some nuances that maybe don't exist.
Correct.
For anyone else, like EMS, fire, and police. So that would be it doesn't mean that there wouldn't be a policy affecting or important to fire. It would just be in a separate document.
Right.
Not in a
And-
fire document. You
And
would,
that would be in the town
Well,
policy?
the personnel
Yeah.
policy plus
That's what,
the.
that's what I need to know, that's what I need to know, so like you
Yeah,
take,
that's-
you take the juniors. I don't think there's any other department that does anything with anybody from the ages of 13 to 18.
But that's in
But
our.
that would have to be in our town policy?
Well, it's in our insurance policy that we buy. So we are already
Yeah.
buying insurance that
Right.
covers the junior fires. Now, we didn't know for sure, so we clarified. We asked them, does it cover? They said
Right.
yes when they're in
Right.
training.
Yeah.
So we knew that.
Yeah.
I don't know that we have to write it down anywhere in particular. We could put it in the personnel policy if you felt
Yeah.
that it needed to be spelled out.
Well,
I think it
I
should,
think,
yeah.
I think the age does need to be in there because they don't start until the age of 13.
Yeah.
And the age of 18.
Right.
Is when that part of the program
Yeah.
ends. And I don't know as though there's any
Yeah.
anybody else that comes underneath that.
No, but
that
the
age
insurance
limit. I
policy was
understand the
also clear
insurance,
that
but
they covered it.
We need to
Yeah.
stipulate, we don't want 8 years old, 10-year-old, we don't, we're looking to start a junior program
Yeah.
at 13.
And that
go
would
to
be part
18.
of your standard operating guidelines. You put
Yeah,
right in
okay.
there. In fact, it'd be really good for you to document your
Yeah.
whole junior firefighter training program
Right.
in your
Yeah.
SOGs or
Yeah. Yeah.
procedures.
Well,
And
there's
that,
hundreds of them.
right,
Yeah.
Yes.
and that would be part of that,
Yeah.
the age
Yeah.
of the,
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
they, then what they do, the trainings, all that. That's actually part of your guidelines. So, and
Mm-hmm. Okay.
it's one of those things where there's some crossover between what
Yeah.
what we all think of as a policy and what we're thinking of as procedures.
Yeah.
So, I mean, his recommendation was, hold off on this, write the guidelines. You're gonna find that much of this
Yeah.
is going to end up in your guidelines.
Okay.
And then what isn't, you can debate, does it become a town policy? Does it need to be somewhere else? Does it need to be in the guide? He said, that you're gonna find you're gonna be duplicating effort to write this, have a personnel policy, and then standard operating procedures or guidelines for the fire department.
I think there's still a place for it, for handing out, I mean, it's only a couple pages, you
Yeah.
know, handing it out to new members of the
Yeah,
fire
yeah,
department who
yeah.
don't want the 400 page. We heard today in EMS that the SOP is like, 300 pages long,
yeah, yeah.
And so the new people who are volunteers probably don't need that, but they would benefit from having some understanding
Yeah.
of the organization.
Yeah.
I think one of the questions that was about the insurance, and the reason that in our discussion when we met, one of the reasons that it was included here was because it had previously, the insurance had previously covered without an upper limit on age, and then it was changed.
No, that's not the case. I've spoken to VFIS. That is not the case. There are things you can do to buy additional insurance. The town passed 111F, which you can read the law. I'm not an expert on it. I don't have it in front of me. I was trying to find my copy of it, which has a lot to do with the town's indemnification of firefighters and injury.
In EMS as
And
well.
EMS. There are things they do cover over 65, but there are exclusions. There are specific exclusions over 65 in every policy. And if you want to add them into an insurance policy, some don't even offer it. Some will charge you additional for that. You also have 111F, which the town has accepted, which means to some extent, the town covers certain things regardless. The insurance is to protect the town's pocketbook. The town has said, we protect our firefighters. We will indemnify them, we will take care of them, essentially if they're injured on the job or for certain things for life. Town has said that. What the insurance is covering the town, saying, we'll cover these different things. So you can buy insurance for the whole thing. It's just very expensive to cover every little, if you want to cover everything that could happen to a firefighter, any age, at any time. So they write these policies, plus there's some that are required by law, like under the McNamara bill for certain
Right.
minimums for deaths and all that kind of thing. But the town is on the hook already. What you're buying is insurance to protect the town
From the expense.
from the exposure and the expense.
Oh, okay.
Now, because this VFIS question came up, and when I talked with the representative that you dealt with, the only age limit that they had was on cancer presumption. They covered on everything else. There was no upper age limit on
Well,
anything else.
I have to go back and find the wording. He said
Yeah.
it can be. In other
Yeah.
words, we could buy it.
Yeah.
On 65.
When I talked to them, and I was on vacation in Florida when I made the calls,
Yeah.
he was very explicit that the policy that we used to have with them was still the format that they were going to use, and the only thing that VFIS had an upper age limit on was the cancer presumption
Right, and the
coverage, which we don't have anyway.
We do have it.
Oh.
Under our new
Okay.
Chubb? Oh, yes.
Okay.
Chubb doesn't have an age limit on
Okay.
that. So
They
it
have an
depends
age
on what you
limit
want to
on it. They
buy.
have an age limit
On
on
cardiac.
medical.
On cardiac.
Okay, we got differences because I know who I talked with Chubb and with VFIS. Anyway, but
Anyway,
the bottom
we
line
can
is,
sort
bottom
that
line
out.
is,
We can
yeah,
sort that.
yeah.
But that's an insurance
Yeah,
coverage.
right,
That doesn't mean
right.
that the person who, the firefighter who's affected isn't
Right.
indemnified in some way from the town. That's about insurance.
Yeah.
So that's a policy discussion over insurance that can be had, and you can
So-
compare policies, but that's a very different discussion.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't generally go in this type of document. Like our regular insurances are in the personnel policy. So we
Yeah.
can put in an insurance, there are insurance sections in our personnel policy if we wanted to be specific.
If, just from a layperson standpoint, so if the concern is for any firefighter, whether they're covered, the question then is, how much is because the town has already committed to that. The town had to vote on that at a town meeting. So the coverage, the 111, we had to adopt.
Oh,
that.
yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yes.
I'm sorry.
So that's what I mean. So
Yeah.
independent of
Yeah.
insurance, if the bottom line root concern for people is whether or not a firefighter or an EMS person is going to be taken care of should something terrible happen, the answer is yes, they
Yes.
will be. The secondary question, which we're kind of getting into the weeds on a little bit, is how much would insurance pick up of that on behalf of the town? And that is a concern that we need to
Oh, yeah.
address, because
Yeah.
if it's not the premiums, it's something else. But that doesn't get
Right.
in the way of taking care of firefighters or employees, right? So I just want to make sure we don't go too much into the weeds on
Yeah,
that and
yeah,
then lose
yeah.
kind of the overall perspective.
Right.
Which is, I think, where you and I had the little light bulb moment, literally in the middle of
Yeah.
a thunderstorm. We
Yeah.
were sitting in the fire station talking about the building committee, and we were talking about this, and I said, I think we're kind of talking past each other a little bit because of the terminology. The fire uses SOGs, which are procedures,
Right.
and detailed procedures about how firefighting is done.
Yep.
So, as a select board member, I don't want to weigh in on how you handle a hose and all the different kinds of hoses.
yeah.
So there might be a policy on hoses in general, and then there might be a procedure for a supply hose and a line hose and however many other hoses there are, that each of, and this might enter into your recruit training, because if they're handling the hoses, they might actually have to read those hose procedures. I'm just
yeah.
going to focus on
Yeah, which it
hoses
is,
as
yeah.
the general
Yeah,
example.
Yeah.
So that really the key thing is, from a documentation standpoint, this document is important because it really captures the history and the overall structure. And to Sarah's point, she's right. Whenever somebody new comes on board, they need a little packet of stuff that is like town stuff, like payroll and other stuff that happens for any employee regardless of department. And then they also need something that's fire specific, right? So they would get to me, you get a little folder as a new person.
Right.
that's fine. I think we're all, personally, I would think we're all on board on that. But the SOGs are firefighting specific.
Yes.
As a select board person, I don't need to participate in the development of how you handle a hose as long as it meets your guidelines and it's captured in writing. The only interest I have as a select board member and why it's captured in writing is because should there be an accident, this is what we were talking about, or an emergency, something bad happens, that could either be a lawsuit or an agency thing or an OSHA thing. Their first instinct, as we were just hearing in our interviews, their first instinct is they go to your procedure and they start going chapter and verse over, well, what procedure were you following at the time? And as you know, in any situation, and this is what I was talking about with one of the consultants on the task force, is you need those procedures because they're the baseline for anything. But as a firefighter and as a commander, incident commander, you may go off procedure based on mitigating circumstances because of the safety of the firefighters on site, the building just collapsed, or there's something
Whatever.
structural
Yes.
that causes you to go, okay, we're no longer following this, we're doing that.
Yeah.
But the starting point always is the procedure, and if there's an investigation, they go to the procedures. So it benefits the town and it lowers our risk if we have written procedures.
Oh, yes,
Right.
yeah,
And also,
no question.
insurance, it can also lower some of our insurance points, I found out, for town people, when they get their insurance. If there's certain procedures in place, you have the ability to affect the points, however the point
Yeah.
system works with the insurance providers. So there's that benefit as well. That's what I'm interested in as a select board member, is if you put it all in writing, one, it's captured for you and for the firefighters.
Everyone, yeah.
And then two, it has the benefit of lowering our risk and potentially offsetting maybe some insurance cost, either for the town as a whole or for individual residents, right? So I think we've been focused on this document as if it was we had talked about it being the Bible,
Yeah, yeah,
but this in fact is only Genesis.
yeah.
So the major league effort will be your SOGs and capturing all of those. And then you would come to the select board at some point and go, here's our whole package. This, the overview, any relevant town policies and their documents, plus all of your SOGs, which will probably be like the size that we looked at for the police department, I'm gathering. And then my question to you had been in the discussion was, how can we help? Is there, instead of, much as I love to write stuff, I'm not going to be sitting there like, okay, and so what's a supply hose again?
Yeah,
And then what do
yeah,
you do with that?
exactly, Yeah.
Can we have an experienced fire chief, for example, come in and actually assist with the effort through a grant who speaks fire, but can also speak
Yeah.
agency and administrative stuff too? And so that I think is that a fair statement of where we
Yeah,
started talking about the
I
building
think-
and
no,
then we
I-
went
no,
into
I-
this?
No,
and
no,
so-
I think,
yeah.
I think it is, because we've been going round and round and round. with
For a
this.
year, yeah.
With this, if there is and you mentioned that there was somebody that you had spoke with that, might be available to assist, as far as with the standard operating guidelines, because
Correct.
there
'Cause there's so
are
many.
pages and pages and pages of what they need to be, and we need to have up-to-date written documents as far as that's concerned. We use training programs, we use IFSTA, which is the International Fire Service Training Association. We use their manuals, we go by them, but you still need to have your own SOGs.
Right, and
Yeah,
you guys
yeah,
have
yeah.
other jobs too, so it's not
Oh,
like
yeah,
you're
yeah.
sitting
No,
around
no,
writing
no.
SOGs all day
Right.
long.
No.
Yeah, so I think that's where
So
we had
that's-
left
yeah,
it, was
yeah.
like, oh, how do we move this discussion in a slightly different way So the select board feels like there's progress and we
Yep.
can address, town risk or insurance cost or anything like that. But the bottom line is, we don't want to tell firefighters how to do firefighting.
Yeah.
That's not our role.
No, I
And the
understand.
other thing is, we don't want anyone to feel like they're not covered, or we're arguing with firefighters, or we don't care. So I think the next step was what Skip and I were kind of had this aha moment, was like, well, how do we just move this whole project along? And also, so it helps you in your,
Yeah.
as you're nearing the 50th, I'm assuming you don't want to be working on this 5 years from
No.
now,
No.
right?
And my
So
50th isn't 5 years
when you're
away.
sitting in your fire rocking chair,
right.
so
Yeah.
that's where we came up with this consultant idea, and
yeah.
he's already working with the town. He was just working with Leiden on their fire. He was up there at their event this past weekend. And it's really up to you. And he was willing to meet with you before we even went for a grant. And then
Okay.
that way, if you felt like,
Yeah.
no, this isn't what I need, then you can, you can say no.
Okay.
But,
Yeah, if you want to forward me his contact
yeah,
information.
so that
Yeah.
was,
Yeah.
I'm just telling the rest of the board too, so that, and I had mentioned to Andrea yesterday, so that's how we're trying to just get you to the point of actually presenting a whole package of
forward.
So we're
SOGs.
waiting on the lawyer.
Well, the lawyer's made his comments on this document. I mean, his recommendation was to do
Yeah.
the SOGs first.
Right.
You may find that some of
Yeah.
this stuff
Okay.
you don't
Will be in
need.
your SOGs,
And he
yeah.
made some comments on it, but he's not saying vote or, he's saying don't vote on it now until you've written what you want to write the other way, because you may find this to be a very different document
Yeah.
when you're done with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we also need to then move forward on this in terms of some of the things you have in here.
Yeah.
But I can talk to you about, like you have
Yeah.
C, description in town employment. First of all, we don't put job descriptions in employment, but the other thing I need to work with you on is, I only have the chief fire description,
Yeah.
job description.
Okay.
Oh, so-
None of the others.
Okay.
They don't exist.
Okay.
I searched everywhere, so they've never been written.
Well,
So
I gave you all the officers.
if you have them, please
I
forward
will,
them.
I will.
Okay, so that's the kind of thing that we could start to put together
Yeah.
here.
Okay.
In the whole packet.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Okay.
And
Size.
where they go and where they fit.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, let's move on to fire department chief assignment.
Oh, yeah,
So
Yes.
Because you,
reporting for duty.
as of 8/13/24, you're
Yeah.
not the active chief.
Yeah. So
So we need to appoint, but we haven't heard back from the legislature yet.
it's
Well-
in committee.
we have heard back from Susanna Whips today.
Yeah.
They're not gonna get to it this legislative session
No.
because it ends
It's closed.
now, because they do the budget up till now, and then they all
Yeah.
go off for August.
Yeah, we need that.
She just wanted to say, certainly by the birthday, that was, what she was saying. But they'll come back to it like they did last time. When they come
Right.
back, they
Yeah.
push, non-controversial things through, so
Yeah. Yeah.
it'll take anything. They also asked for a document with a signature from the town clerk, which we already sent. We mailed that off.
Okay.
They asked today, we mailed it today. So, that's all set. So, yeah, so you kind of have to vote him auxiliary and then administrative chief. Like we did last
We
time.
gotta call it auxiliary or interim?
He's an auxiliary member of the fire, because technically
Okay.
on the
Oh, yeah,
13th,
I've
he
got it
comes
from-
off the fire department.
Here it is from
So put him
last
back
year.
on,
Oh, okay,
and then make him the administrative chief.
Administrative chief.
okay.
So the first order of business is to appoint,
Skip as an administrative chief.
As the auxiliary member effective 8/13, and then you can make
So-
him the administrative chief on the same day.
right,
Okay. So and who do you want to be the auxiliary?
He's the auxiliary. I'm sorry, the administrative. You have an assistant
Right.
chief already, you
Right.
don't have to
Yeah,
do
me.
anything with that.
We don't do anything with that, we don't have to appoint him. He
we did
just-
that last
He's
year.
already
Yeah,
appointed.
yeah.
He's already appointed, so he just steps in, so we don't have to
Right.
vote on
Right.
that.
No, you have to make him an
No.
auxiliary member and
An
administrative chief.
administrative chief.
Okay, so I move that we appoint Floyd, what's your middle initial?
M.
M. Donnell III, otherwise known as Skip, as an auxiliary member of the fire department effective August 13th, 2024. Term expiring, end of year?
End of January.
End of January or
31st.
end of December?
No, they're January.
January for the fire department.
Expiring January 30th, 2025.
Second.
Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
Congratulations again.
all right.
I move that we appoint Floyd M. Donnell III, otherwise known as Skip, to be the administrative chief effective August 13th, 2024, term expiring January 30th, 2025.
Second.
Any other discussion? Okay, none? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
Thank you, I think.
yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
okay. Guess we're all set there.
All right.
See you tomorrow, Skip.
Very good. Yes, we'll see you.
Perfect timing.
We'll see you for the interviews tomorrow.
I'll have your paperwork for you.
Okay.
I'll print
Thank
out
you.
the questions.
All right.
Thanks, Skip, and I'll send you an
Have a
email.
good e- Okay.
Yep.
Have a good
See you,
evening.
Skip.
Okay, Carl Gustav? Oh,
This is very official, it's the first time.
Yes, it is.
yeah, well, you're here for a temporary vendor, hawker, and peddler license.
Yes.
We issue those every 2 weeks,
Mhm.
just so you're aware.
Mhm.
Why don't you tell us a little something real quick? What you want to do?
I'm a college student from Europe. I'm here with a company called Southwestern Advantage. It's my third time in America doing it. And basically what I'm doing is I'm selling educational books and apps all the way from like learning to read up until the first year of college. So it's educational resources for families of all ages. Yeah, I've been working in Greenfield, Bernardston, Sunderland, all of the towns basically in Franklin County so far. And I haven't experienced anything too bad. All of the towns have been pretty nice to me. Yeah.
Anybody have any questions for him, or?
Yeah, what are the books about? Are they general subjects?
I have like informational, I can pass this along from here.
Thank you.
They're all about educational things, so they start from like picture books going to like experiment books, and then there's things for like school age kids as well. It's study guides, so they basically have the parents as well because school changes all the time. And the curriculum, mostly I sell the math books because Common Core is difficult for the parents. And that's kind of what those are for. Yeah. The company itself is based in Nashville, Tennessee. It's a 170-year-old company, and they started by selling Bibles door to door during the Civil War when the veterans got out of the wars and then they didn't have anything to do, they didn't have any money. They just started going door to door with Bibles. And now they've done like the education side of it for like 50 years. The books used to look like they were leather bound, so they looked like encyclopedias. But now they're more modernized.
Are they religious texts?
There is like a religious book set as well, but educational things and then the religious things, they're kind of separate from each other as well. So it covers everything in different books.
Okay, any other questions for him? Okay, let's see. I'll make a motion to approve a temporary vendor, hawker, and peddler license for Carl's Books from 8/7/2024 to 8/19/2024 during the hours of 9 a.m. to dusk.
Second.
Any other discussion?
I just have a question. So you're going door to door, or you setting up? Okay.
Okay. All right, everybody, okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. We have to sign just the first sheet?
I think I tagged the one I need you to sign.
Okay. Okay, this must be the first one.
Has all your names on it, correct?
Yeah,
Yep.
has the right names. The one in the back has Alex's name still on
It's
it.
just an example, I think.
New group.
Yeah. Okay,
Alex 2.0.
okay.
Oh, 819.
This one.
So do we need,
We'll bring it to you.
okay.
Okay.
Who's that go to? Sandra?
Does it go to Sandra?
I need to process it, so.
Yes.
Oh, so
Okay.
he's gonna come back and talk to you.
Can you come
Does he need
tomorrow
to
morning to pick it up?
Yeah.
He needs to sign it?
Yeah, we'll give it to Sandra and she'll
She'll,
take it from
Sure,
there.
Tomorrow morning.
Yeah, she'll have it all finished.
okay.
Okay, we're all set.
Good luck.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to unmute John if you wanted, since he's here, maybe skip to the first
Yeah, I know
order of
he's-
business.
Okay, we don't have anybody here for citizens' concerns anyway, so we can skip that.
Okay.
I'm gonna. So John, if you want to unmute yourself, I think you're up.
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, good.
Okay. So, do you want to give an explanation about what you're asking?
Oh, yeah, sorry about that. I have a little bit of a delay. So first of all, I apologize in advance. I just had the interviews with the EMS candidates for chief. But unfortunately, I had a sick kid and now a sick new puppy, and I'm on my way home. So we have another 6 hours to drive, and I'll be back in Northfield.
Oh,
But that being said, so today I gave Bernie some information. Hopefully he shared it with the select board members. It's basically the terminology to be careful with, but there's a sergeant position that's already essentially in there after Alex Groskoff went to the state police. I didn't know if I'd want to make a sergeant or when that would happen. And so I've been weighing that out for, since he left. And then also, I've been thinking about maybe having a detective lateral assignment. So the terminology there is basically, I think, a lot of people think of a detective as a promotion, and maybe it is in some departments, but the departments I've worked for, that's not the case. It's just a lateral assignment, and how it would work for a small town like Northfield or other similar towns would be that you have someone that responds to some of the bigger type of cases so that they have more experience and they build that experience quicker. So we already have a few officers I think would probably fit the mold for that, but over the next several years, as opposed to just catching cases while they're on duty, they would also come in for cases when they're off duty. And this is especially important for sensitive cases involving sexual assaults and other cases involving children, because it makes a huge difference on how frequently you're investigating these cases, and small mistakes can end an investigation, and it has huge repercussions, obviously, on the victims. And it would be in Northfield and other small towns' best interest to have an investigator. Now, whether you just have that person that comes in and you call them the sergeant, that could be the case. But for Northfield, I envision having a detective that's an officer that is more inclined to doing investigations, because not all officers is not like a one mold for police officers, even though sometimes we would like there to be. But the truth is, cops are human beings, and we have our pros and cons, and we have the things that were our strengths and weaknesses, and we're looking for an officer that likes doing investigations and also has a skill set for that. The sergeant one is an actual promotion, and one's kind of self-explanatory, other than to say it's taken me a while to determine the vision of Northfield PD. But I see a sergeant as being the person who, again, it's up to the select board, of course, but at the same time, why not build up a person that could be your next chief of police? And so I see, typically a sergeant has a lot more extra duties administratively and in the management, and also a more of a leadership position. I mean, if we're going to use an analogy, I know the military is a popular analogy, but it doesn't really fit for police departments. More of like a analogy would be like a team. And so if you had a captain of the team, would be the sergeant who's out there on patrol, but also the person that has a lot of experience and has shown the ability to do some of the cases that might come along. So people look to that person as their role model, but also the person that understands that they're kind of the middle manager of the department. And so as opposed to going straight to the chief and maybe it just helps with the communication and the chain of command. It would take me about 10 more minutes to explain that, but I think everyone can kind of conceptualize based on the limited information I just gave what I'm envisioning. Now you have the job descriptions in front of you, and really it's in your hands to determine whether you agree with everything I just said, or if you have any comments or questions or concerns, I can answer any of those.
I have a question. I'm not sure that I followed. So there is currently an unfilled sergeant position because an officer left. And I followed your description of the sergeant's role in the department. Are you asking to switch that sergeant position and change it into a detective lateral position, or are you asking to have them both?
One's a sergeant, good question. Just to reiterate, the sergeant is a promotion, so one officer would become potentially, through a process, would become the sergeant. And then another position potentially would be a detective, but that's a lateral assignment. And so it's not, it's almost like the school resource officer, where it's not a guaranteed thing. If it doesn't work out and the person can be moved, someone else can be put in that position. So it's not in terms of like a union point of view or just a management point of view. It's not a promotion. So the person's not being promoted to a position such as a sergeant.
And on the paperwork, it says, it lists the new detective lateral position. It lists the source of the money as stipend. Is that,
Yes.
And so that's a fund, you guys already have a stipend fund, and so it's coming from existing funds, is that right?
Yeah, we've already have on-call funds. I don't know when it reaches your desk, Andrea can explain to you, but they're undergoing contract negotiations now, which will be on-call rates anyways, and you can go over that math with you.
Session, they'll get more detail on that funding. So when they look at the contract.
Yeah, so I'm essentially working within the budget that I already have, so I'm not asking for any more money or anything like that. But the person will be on call, because normally if it's after hours, I'm on call, or an officer that's off duty is on call. But in a case of like maybe you have a break in a B&E at 2 a.m, maybe someone got injured or something even worse than that. Instead of just having the chief of police come out to that, there would be the officer that's on duty that can also call in the detective, so they can all teamwork together to be able to investigate, crimes like that more efficiently. So it's like the service, it's not even comparable to the service that potentially could happen in the future versus what you're going to have now. We still do the best that we can, but we rely on state police a lot of times. So we want to get to the point where our team is the one that's had the experience and the ability to handle the calls that happen in Northfield.
Okay, I'm sorry, I have a question. So the new detective, which is a lateral position, the lateralization means that person is going to be on call. That's the difference? I mean, also their duties, but the structural difference is that they'll be on call even when they're not on officially duty.
Yeah. So currently, the officers that work until 1, 2, 3 in the morning, depending on if it's weekday or whatever we have going on, they're on call after they leave. I'm always on call, and so that's depending if they're working a 3 or 4 day work week and it's 8 or 10 hour shifts. That means they get off at 1 a.m, and then they're obligated to come in if something comes in. If I'm either that or I'm coming in or we're both coming in, depending on how big it is. This is fairly common. It's usually like a suspicious person, or, in the recent past, I've talked about cases where we've had juveniles that are overdosed on stuff, or we'll have an unattended death. But in this case, we could have a person that's now the detective. So normally they'd be on call if they were the officer working till 1 or 2, but now on their days off, so they're not working, they're at home, they have their phone on them, and for a stipend, they know, okay, I'm on call So then when something comes in, it's not just the officer, it's the detective. If the officer and the chief of police determine this is going to need a longer investigation. So they would then come offline and be able to follow up on that investigation. It's essentially, we kind of have that thing going on anyways, because some people are more prone to want to go out there and stop cars and things of that nature, and we have officers that are more prone to want to do more complex investigations and get really in deep with that stuff. But it would make it more official. So if you're using like a team analogy, it's like defining what people actually do. Are you more primarily traffic enforcement, or are you the person that does a lot of the investigations, and the community recognizes you by your the title says it all, that, oh, this is the detective, this is someone that has the training. That's another thing, is I would send them to additional training to go to sexual assault investigator school if they don't have that already, fingerprinting, photographs, all those type of training. So they'd have probably at least 80 to 100 additional hours of training courses that I'd send them to.
Great, thanks for explaining.
You're welcome.
You and I had spoken, so I'm comfortable with both, and I know that it benefits the town, especially in the investigatory, and it probably benefits you as well to have somebody else on the team like a sergeant. Do you want to talk a little bit about the process that you're having officers go through, about the lateral process that they're going through? Because I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, there's two processes. So, but if we're going to have approval after this meeting, I don't want to put the horse before the cart.
Oh, okay, sorry.
For the horse. But that being said, the process would be, and they have already been tasked with this, is that you're going to have buy-in from the community and the stakeholders. So, the officers that we're a small department, so I kind of know what people would want to do different things, and so it's not so much guesswork going on. But at the same time, we're going to have everyone feel comfortable about people taking these positions. So I've tasked them. It's kind of like a process that you would go through in a town, that maybe you take a written exam and then a person that scores the highest. But for my career, I've found that that's not actually, doesn't rise always necessarily the best candidate to the top, and there can be underlying issues. Maybe the person that scores 100 on a test and someone else scored a 90 isn't the actual best person for the position. So I've kind of modified this kind of process to incorporate the actual officers that want to be a detective or sergeant, to go out and get letters of support from a select board member, from a community member, stakeholder, couple town employees, and also all their officers. If you're going to be their supervisor in the future, it would be nice if everyone felt you would be a good supervisor. So that's going to be a big telltale sign on whether this person's going to be supported in their new promotion. Same thing for the detective position. Then there'll be a test. I think it's important to know policies and procedures. So there'll be a test on policies and procedures, and that'll be a pass or fail thing. You got to know the policies and procedures as a detective, and especially as a sergeant. And so then there'll be an interview process. Myself, Andrea, and Bernie, as the chair, will be a part of that interview process. But that's what I anticipate happening in the near future. But again, I don't want to put the cart before the horse.
I move that we approve both the detective and sergeant lateral assignment descriptions as presented and described.
Second.
Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
I couldn't hear that. Was that all ayes, or was there?
Yes.
Yes. Nope.
All eyes.
It was unanimous.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Joy.
Sorry I couldn't be there, and I'm sorry that it's kind of, when you get to a certain point in a team such as this, and you kind of make decisions based on what you got in front of you and what situations you have. So I wasn't trying to hurry this along or anything like that. So I just want to make sure that's clear to anyone in the public that's listening, which is, you kind of got your team in front of you, then all of a sudden you have these epiphanies and you're like, wow, my budget actually can make this happen. And not only everything I just told you is all positive things, I believe, but even it's so positive for police officers to have goals and aspirations and changes of their work environment, and it keeps things fresh, and I'm really excited about it.
Well, we are too, and I think you're 2.5 years in, and I think you've just hit a new level of momentum. You were doing a lot of building for a while, so congratulations on having a full build out of your team and actually being able to present something so proactively to the select board.
Thank you, B. And then the timing will also, and so you're not surprised by it, we're actually looking at uniform changes too. So not only will we have a different structure of the team, we'll have a different look to our uniforms. And I know a lot of people are a fan of uniforms that look like SWAT gear to me, but we'll have something that I believe represents Northfield a little more, which is what we do, kind of like in the emergency management, the EMS chief meeting we just had, which is Northfield, please get out there and we move logs and go to animal calls and deal with domestics, and we deal with sexual assaults, and we pull over cars, and we do all that stuff. So we want to have a uniform that kind of represents who the police department is and also who the town is. So I'm hoping to roll that out soon.
Good. Cool.
Okay, thank you, John.
He's on a roll.
Okay. All right, have a good day.
You too.
You too.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Oleg.
He's here.
Okay.
We have an
Hi,
executive
Oleg.
session.
Oh, that's funny. Okay, I just was wondering why you were here. That's
He
good
just
enough.
wants to sit in on us.
Okay. Okay. All right, let's get back to review and approval of warrants and get those done.
Yeah.
We have fiscal year 2024, 6/30/24 vendor warrant of $125,655.86. That's highway, oil and stone, and storm.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. We have a 7/24/24 payroll warrant of $85,075.56.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. We have a 7/24/24 vendor warrant of $63,197.05.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Nope.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. We have an 8/7/24 payroll warrant of $90,902.29.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. We have a 8/7/2024 vendor warrant of $1,112,233.87. This is the assessor's comp
Oh,
support.
computer.
Yeah.
Computer support.
Oh, they got their software?
Yes.
PVRS assessment, cemetery paving, and Mass Works grant, tie-in bond, and EMS building lease.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Just so you know, you are now caught up. The one is the one you had signed, the 7/27/24, and now the 8/7, and you're back on schedule now to go every 2
Okay.
weeks with the warrant again. So
Full steam ahead
I'm
on
going to have to call you back
FY25.
in
Okay.
off schedule.
Yeah. Let's move on to review and approval of minutes from 7/16/2024.
So moved.
Second.
I have an amendment. On the meetings, the things that select board members did, I also met with citizens regarding the economic development presentation and what happened in the select board on the 25th of June. And I said that in the meeting, so I'd like it included.
Wait, one more time?
The June 25th economic development presentation and what happened in the meeting. I spoke to citizens about that.
Any other amendments?
Nope.
Okay. Move to
So moved as amended?
as amended.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. Interim select board meetings, none. Meetings and events attended by select board members? David, nothing?
Nope.
Heath?
Nothing.
You've been on vacation. Sarah?
Conservation Commission, open space, EMS hiring, screening for the EMS chief and fire chief regarding the documents.
Heath?
I had a FERCog council meeting, and I'm now on the executive committee for FERCog as a result of that one. Also went to a Friends of the Shell Bridge meeting, and EMS regionalization governance meeting, ARPA committee, and I spoke with Skip about the building and the SOGs. And we had an animal control advisory committee meeting yesterday, which Andrea knows about because the town is getting back approximately $500. As a result, Whately has been added to the district. So having another member means a lower assessment for each of the other towns. And I sat in on the screening for the EMS chief today and the rest of the week.
Okay. And I had a meeting of the Friends of the Northfield Seniors. I had a Veterans Memorial Committee meeting, and I went to the Board of Health meeting. All right.
Nice.
Next up is to sign the election warrant. So it's for Tuesday, the 3rd day of September, 2024, from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. to vote in the state primaries for candidates of political parties for the following offices as listed. Do I need to name them? Nah.
We also have that on the calendar as a select board meeting, so we'll need to move that meeting, right? Because we don't usually do something in the building.
Yeah, we have to, well, next meeting, we're gonna actually bring a potential schedule that might take you through the holidays too, and just set all those dates.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Okay.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. All
That we
those,
sign it?
yeah, we just all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I sign right here, probably.
I don't know on that.
Yeah, you all sign it.
I'll sign
Right.
it.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Here you go.
Thank you.
All right.
There you go.
I'll get that done quickly.
Yeah.
More in there, so I got. All right. Next up is set the Conservation Commission Administrative Assistant classification. We need to assign a grade.
I've got all of the rankings in.
Yeah, I saw
and
that.
so looking for a vote to assign the grade.
Are we assigning, looks like 5?
Yes.
Okay.
Is that what all the other administrative
Yeah.
assistants are?
Yeah.
The 5s?
Yeah, we
Okay.
just went through that for like sewer
Yeah.
and the financial assistant.
Yeah, I remember that. I just wanted to make sure we were doing the same.
Yep.
Are we, is this called the Conservation Commission clerk? Is that what you want in the motion?
I think that's the way the job is.
That's the way jobs listed.
Okay.
job
I'm just looking
description
at the
is.
ranking versus what we had.
Okay, it's listed
Yeah.
as a clerk then.
Yes.
Okay. So I move that we approve the Conservation Commission clerk position as a grade 5.
We don't do the step now also?
That's
No.
when we get that person.
Step is when the person's hired.
The person's been in place since forever.
The job has to be advertised by law. We can't hire someone. We can't create a job and hire someone. That's
Okay.
illegal. We create the job, we put it out for hire, we'll hire the person. Then at that time, when you have in front of them their resume, you can then assign the step, but that has to be
Oh,
reviewed.
that's when we appoint the person, and it'll
Right, the
be
grade is now
grade
set.
5
Now,
step,
the step is chosen by
blankety
the,
blank.
right,
Experience and everything, yeah.
yes,
Okay.
because you don't have any resume or anything in front of you, you don't even know.
Did we get a second on that?
Second.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 So
Okay.
I have to post the job, which means I need a person from the select board who's going to sit on that hiring committee.
I will.
Well, there'll usually be someone from the Conservation Commission as well.
Okay, I'll do that, either one.
So she's going to do the Conservation Commission, which makes sense. It's up to you guys how you want to do that. Either she can,
I could be the select board and we can get Bill
Another
Llewellyn.
concert.
Yeah. Get the chair of CONSCOM on there.
Okay.
I don't have time, I normally will sit in on anything
Yeah, I don't
like
know
that,
what
but I don't
for
have,
time.
I don't have time.
I can't tell you this far ahead. You know, by the time we post it and whatever.
yeah, we won't
Because we're
have it open
doing,
for. a
we're also
couple of
doing
weeks.
EMS too, so.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, okay, well, our motion that we'll have Sarah represent the select board on that committee.
And then the CONSCOM can, you guys can appoint.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do I need a second on that? To appoint Sarah to that?
I don't know that you always vote.
Don't
No, I
have
think
to
we
vote
just
it?
volunteer
Just
and then
volunteer,
we're all
okay.
like,
All right,
you go.
all right, so Sarah's on that. Okay.
Attorney General?
We received a letter, after the town meeting vote, the annual town meeting, for for Article 26 and 27, having to do with the solar moratoriums, the town clerk gathers up all the information necessary and sends it into the Attorney General for approval, but the Attorney General's office. They have a 90-day, they have to respond by or let it go into effect, or under Mass General Law, they can ask for an additional 60-day determination before they rule on it. So the letter that we've received, or the town clerk received, and our lawyer received, is that they are exercising the 60-day review period for those two articles. So they have not ruled on those two articles, and they're exercising it. I suspect that there's these new laws that the state is passing having to do with solar siting, and that the AG's office is probably holding off on their responses accordingly. That's my hunch. They're not saying that per se, but it wouldn't surprise me that they
Well-
don't want to make a ruling while those laws are being reviewed and implemented at the state level.
That
So
makes
that just
sense.
means that, right, we don't have a determination.
Okay,
They're in effect, so to speak, but there's no determination that they will remain so until we hear back from the AG's office.
okay.
Okay. Do
Digital
we have
equity
something to sign here
for,
for that?
no,
We
for the
just- it's
AG's
just an
letter? No,
information,
that's them
okay.
notifying you that
Okay.
they're exercising their 60 days.
All right, that's it, okay.
The next thing is approving the regional digital equity plan, and I think we included it in your homework.
Yeah,
The
that was
town-
quite long.
Yeah, the town's been, I'll give you the 5-cent version. The town's been the lead on a regional grant, working with the FERCog as our consultant, to complete a regional digital equity plan. And the point of the plan is to work on closing what they call the digital divide. And that's the gap between those who have access and skills to engage online and those who don't have either access or the skills.
Or both.
And so in order to do this, the plan looked at what communities need, where to work, and how it works, to address how to bridge the gap through inclusion ideas and strategies to bring digital equity to communities. And we worked regionally. The plan was Charlemont, Coleraine, Lyden, New Salem, Northfield, Orange, Warwick, Wendell, Northfield applied for the grant, Mallory applied for the grant. The state's trying to get every community that doesn't have 100% coverage to do a digital equity plan, find your weaknesses, who's missing, how can you help them, and for what reasons are they missing? Do they not have the skills? Do they not have the access? Do they not have the technology? And so that's what the plan was all about. So now that we've done that, the plan gets sent, if you approve it, the plan gets sent to the MBI for final approval. That's Massachusetts Broadband Institute at the state level. And approval doesn't lock the town into any commitments. We just have this plan. But what it does unlock, once it's officially approved, is implementation funds. These funds are already set aside for us, but we need to approve the plan in order to unlock them. And you unlock them by doing things in your plan. Once you say, okay, we
Some
want
of
to
which-
use our funds, here's our proposal. So
Some of which we're already doing, like we have volunteers at the library who instruct
And
people and
senior
things like
center.
that.
Right,
Yeah.
but that's just volunteer.
Can we do that retroactively, though? I mean, if we were already doing it, I don't know if it counts.
Well, no, that funding won't go for that, but what we do, and it's very limited, like a couple hours a month at like the senior center. So Leslie has already been working with the senior center, the library, and the school to look at possible uses for the funds, possible programs, projects to meet the identified needs through possible training and or access to hardware. So talking to the school, they would like to have some programming on digital safety for the kids and online safety, because the kids do things maybe they shouldn't. Senior center has some hours. The senior center had some training on devices that people had, and or maybe some computer training. The library as well. Those are places where people congregate, and these would be good places to do training. But that's all being worked out. Those are sort of the three different. We got seniors, we got students, we got the general public, and we're trying to work out a plan. So she's working with all of them to see what are the needs. Through our plan, what have we recognized and identified? So that hasn't been completed yet. She's working with those three entities.
So we need to delineate those before we approve them, because then they'll unlock?
We're not approving any of that yet. All you have to do
The
is
plan
approve the
unlocks.
plan. We need the plan to be approved before we can even apply for those funds.
Yeah.
So once the plan is approved, then put together a proposal, and she's working with the other town entities on that application. But we can't apply for it yet because you haven't approved the plan, sent it to the state, MBI's given it their stamp. Once they've done that, we can put in an application for the funds.
So this is like a capstone on some of the things that have already happened.
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
we used ARPA money to extend Comcast.
Yeah. So this is just a confirmation that
We're doing what we're supposed to,
We're-
and
we
we could get
support this.
more. Yeah,
Right, well, the
we
exactly.
need to
plan-
vote to support this, or not support it. one
Yeah.
The plan is all the data that they did. They went out into the communities, they did research to see where
Is
are
that
the
where those
gaps.
postcards came from that everybody got when they asked whether or not?
Actually, that's a different program.
Oh, God,
Leslie's
okay,
doing
no, oh, sorry.
That's the state's money to try and connect people.
Got more than one thing going.
Yeah, and they're not related, although we talked a lot about them when we were doing the digital
Okay.
equity plan.
Okay.
So this was, we had a meeting in the senior center, they did it in all these communities, they did all sorts of different outreach, and came together with what people found were the gaps. Where
Gotcha.
they didn't have access, sometimes access just meant, I don't know how to use a computer, so I can't reach my grandchildren. Like, where are the actual physical gaps? Not just like, where are you wired? Where are there shortfalls in people's ability to be online? Everything from knowledge to access, et
To
cetera.
even having a
Right,
device.
so the plan then says, this is what we've discovered. We've gathered this all up in these communities, and this is what we've discovered. This is where we see
Okay.
those gaps. Then we use the plan, once it's approved, to try and take the funding to meet those gaps, to
Okay.
reach those gaps.
I move that we approve the regional digital equity plan. How about that?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay,
So we'll send it into
Keep the
MBI,
effort,
and
keep the efforts going.
here we
hopefully
go.
they'll get that approved. Next.
Establish community improvement donation account?
Well, this is a two-piecer here. The
Yeah.
ARPA advisory group met to discuss the final balance and a possible closeout of the last of the ARPA funding. And I think I sent you, as part of your meeting prep,
Yep.
the balance sheet on the ARPA and where we are with everything that's been expended. In so doing, we discussed what might be useful for to use the rest of the funds for, in a way that can carry forward into final projects. As the town is now beginning to work on a consultant with placemaking grant, it was thought that maybe these funds would be useful to help implement community-generated ideas for community improvements that come out of that process later this spring. That process is just starting now. By establishing a donation account that we can put the ARPA funds in, or other future funds, or other future possible grant ideas, then we can continue to do ongoing work towards in community improvement. So the donation account is something the select board votes to create, and thereby it can carry forward, continuing with additional donated funds in the future. If someone says, I want a bench in honor of so-and-so, they can donate the funds. The town can place a bench. But we don't really have a receptacle in which to hold those kinds of funds at this time.
Didn't the rec commission
Rec
have the
just
same
created a
problem and we
donation
solved
account,
that?
right.
Okay.
So, but if we don't use the funds, they disappear, right? ARPA, we have to spend by when?
You have to allocate them
Yeah.
the end of this year, technically.
But
And
it doesn't
then
have to be
we've got
spent.
another 2 years to
Okay.
spend them. So
I'm
I'm
sure we can
sure,
find somewhere to spend $5,000 in 2 years.
I'm sure. Especially since we do now have a beginning placemaking grant project that might come up with some ideas that you might find funding helpful for, or not, we don't know yet.
So what are the limitations on where this donation account money can go?
Well, the limitations will be a vote of the select board, so.
Okay, so this is for use of the select board to allocate based on the best needs of the town.
Right, I'm assuming there'd be a proposal or something would be brought forward and then you'd review it and say, that sounds like a great idea for a community improvement.
Okay.
Let's use what available
So are
funds.
we going to name it the community improvement account?
That's what we thought was the most general name to be able to do improvements in the community of Northfield without getting, you don't want to say,
Well,
flower donation. We want it to be
Right.
general enough that you could find those could be benches, they could be,
but it allows, technically, it allows
Yes.
somebody, if they had an idea about flowers or something,
yeah,
that they can submit money to the town and it would go into this account.
correct.
As
And that
opposed
account then
to-
would be able to be allocated going
Yeah.
forward and it doesn't get lost at the end of the year. It doesn't have to be every year reauthorized like a revolving account. It just becomes an account that, like the fire department has their donation account, the police department has a donation account,
Like-
rec department has a, and they use it to supplement activities for that department.
Okay, so,
But it still gets accounted for in the accounting
Oh,
process.
absolutely,
Yeah.
it's absolutely, and
Great.
and the expenditures
Okay.
go through the warrant.
Yeah, no, I know that.
So it's
I'm
not
just
like they wouldn't be
stating
seen.
stating the
so-
obvious. So I move that we establish a community improvement donation account.
second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Now,
Second thing
to
is
piggyback on that, the ARPA request,
to move the balance of $5,732.47 from the last of the ARPA money into that account.
So moved.
second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Okay, and that closes us out. So to Sarah's point, everything's allocated.
Yes.
Otherwise, we would lose it if it wasn't allocated.
Well, we have to, technically
Report
it
on it,
back.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
That's,
Okay, I got a time, next is the time off request. Do I have to read the dates?
no, generally you don't.
No.
No, general.
I move that we approve the time off request as submitted.
Second.
Any discussion?
And back.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
I'm really sad about this next one.
yeah, on Have a letter of
Next
resignation.
two. Yeah.
What?
I said the next two resignations.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
A letter of resignation from Robin H. Jenkins. That's the assistant for the senior center. I guess I'll read this real quick. Well, it's a lot of personal
little
information.
personal,
She just
She's been doing some thinking and considering.
given things happening in her life,
Yeah.
she's regretfully, tendering her resignation. I don't want to get into the personal stuff. That her resignation last day is August 22nd.
Oh, boy. Okay.
Okay,
Yep.
2024. So
I move we accept the resignation regretfully of Senior Center Program Assistant Robin Jenkins effective August 23rd or 22nd
22nd.
22nd on the letter, 23rd on
on the,
the
Yeah,
agenda.
with the
But
voting.
she's working the 22nd.
oh, so leave it, okay,
Yeah.
effective August 23rd.
Third would be the first
Okay,
nod.
yep.
Okay,
We need her there as many
Yeah,
days as
okay.
we can get.
alrighty.
And we so appreciate her presence.
Do we have
I
a
know.
second on that? I'll
Second.
second that. Oh, David seconded.
Yep.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. And
And the next is equally
yeah, accept the
sad.
resignation of EMS member Jill Fortier, effective immediately. It was received 8/5/2024. So,
Yeah, I just, again, want to thank the Fortier family for everything they've done as a family.
Right, it definitely has been a
With
family.
the EMS, it's
Family
definitely been
effort.
a family life. And, the
Family impact
sacrifices
and
they've
family
made,
effort.
It's been tremendous, actually.
And we're very appreciative to Jill and family.
okay.
So I would move that we accept regretfully the resignation of EMS member Jill Fortier, effective immediately.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I do have one more thing not anticipated, and we just got it last minute. The Energy Committee needs a letter of support for a grant that's due August 16th.
Oh,
Yeah,
good.
So-
it's gonna,
Okay, so you
Yeah.
can start on that, I just wanted
well,
to
no, it's all right.
put it
It's
under
just-
48 hours.
Yeah, because they need to get that grant out, that grant application out quick, so.
It's money for a study,
Oh,
to do a
good.
geothermal study for the NES
Mhm.
potential. So it's really only for a study, there's no
Yeah.
construction or anything here.
I
But
move that we accept the letter and sign the letter of support for the Energy Efficiency Conservation Block Grant on behalf of the Energy Committee. And I want to thank the Energy Committee as part of that in always moving the needs of the community forward.
Second? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay.
Thank you, Energy Committee.
Let's sign that.
Okay, and then I move that we appoint Lindsay McCarthy as the alternate on the Historical Commission, term expiring December 31st, 2024. Very happy to put this forward.
Second?
Lindsay and Sandra Campbell, who is our recent appointment in addition, are both working on Center Cemetery and doing preservation and restoration of gravestones. So we're so excited to have these two on board doing what they're doing and getting everybody else excited about it.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All right, I've got a letter just for Cameron's Winery. Just wanted us to be advised that their restaurant has ceased to operate at the time. After considering events that have occurred, we have decided not to reopen our restaurant. So,
I'm sorry to hear that.
yeah. And I didn't see this, I don't know if I
you don't usually read the mail. If these are agenda items you want to put on the next agenda, we're happy to do that.
Yeah, I mean, if you wanted a citizen's comment, it needed to come in, because we had decided we weren't gonna take comments from people and put them forward ourselves.
What? Oh,
This would have been a citizen's comment, right?
I assume so. I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't see it, so why don't I just read it quick, just to,
It just came in today.
I'm surprised it's not here.
okay.
I'm just saying, you'd be careful because you're off the agenda now.
Okay, so I'll
Just-
read that the
And
next.
either of them are off
next-
the agenda, so if you want to put it on the next agenda, I'll be happy to
Okay.
do that.
why don't we just read the, I mean, we all looked at them, why don't we just, if we want to put it on the agenda?
Yeah, just
Okay.
mark it. That's what I've always said. If you read the mail and you mark it with an A, then put anything you want on the next agenda.
Okay. All righty.
This,
Can I see it?
how about this one?
What's that?
That's something he just wanted you to know, because
We don't have to, there's no action necessary?
he can take the action on that.
No, they were,
Not
we
a board.
we approved it, them
Town
updating the
meeting.
security and safety at the elementary school. And so he just wanted, Jordan reached out to me and Patricia, and they want to change some keys over at the elementary school, because they don't know where all the keys are right now.
The town meeting voted the money to do
Yeah.
the door locks. So
Yeah, and then.
It's approved.
And it was approved by the town meeting, and then they did get a grant, so it's not gonna cost the town anything anymore unless the grant doesn't cover enough of it. But they're just gonna redo 3 locks, physical locks. They already have the
Yep. So
scanning.
they're implementing what the town already approved.
Right.
And what they got a grant
So
for.
that's why we don't have to, it's just, they wanted to make sure that that it
Are
was
in the
okay
loop?
with us, that they went ahead with the rekeying for
Okay.
the doors, that's all. Just an informational FYI.
Are we, like, the funding on that already passed, so it was?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was just,
I kind of want them to
They're fine.
complete the job.
we finally did it, we did the thing.
6 months later, whatever. Yeah,
okay. All right, and the proposed agenda items.
I think you had a list in the, so for
Yes.
the 20th, I already got a full agenda. The Board of Health has already requested to discuss the opioid funding.
oh, good.
Possibly the police assignment of sergeant and detective positions. If
Okay.
he's got, if he's so been through the process by that time.
Yep,
Review draft budget calendar and review the select board meeting calendar with those dates we're talking about. To discuss the fall town meeting, I have, might have a possible draft of,
oh, a warrant
Warrant.
draft? Oh,
and, for some time I'm working on new dangerous dog protocols.
oh,
So
yeah.
I've been sitting on it because you've had such full agenda, so I'm slipping it in here again if it gets, you haven't had a dog hearing, but I'd like
Don't-
you guys to review it.
Don't
Well, I'd like you to have it in
jinx-
place
do
prior
not
to
jinx
anything.
us.
No.
Don't
I'd like
say
you to
it
have
out
it in
loud.
place prior to anything coming up, so.
And we're
chance
gonna
to review
be,
it.
we're gonna discuss the protocol, but we're gonna be very incremental about the things that,
When
the
you review it,
process.
you'll see the protocol, it's much more elaborately written than the one page you used to go through for just the hearing. This is much more, takes into account the law and the ruling that we received, so, yes. So that's what I have, if anybody else.
Yeah, I have a whole list of things that folks have brought to me. So, it was requested that we that we discuss restoring the town hall auditorium stage to increase its use for town events. The town open door policy and the Attorney General's findings on whether you have to keep a door open during an open meeting. The update on the mic system, but it looks like we have a mic.
Yeah.
Well, that's theirs. I haven't replaced the one for us to do Zoom yet because I'm actually already talking to, I'd like to replace this whole process for Zoom and make something more permanent, more simpler. So there doesn't make any sense to actually buy a mic yet for this setup if this setup might change to something more user-friendly. Because right now, we're the only two that can set up a remote meeting.
Right.
We'd like it to be something that another committee could actually have a remote meeting without Sandra or I having to set it up. So I'm talking to
Oh.
BNC TV and then possibly Northeast IT on what we could do to
Okay.
make Zoom more of a thing here, rather than all these wires.
Yeah, and so that people can hear. It's-
Right, so it makes sense to do all of that as one hardware project.
Okay. So evening hours for town clerk at least once a week. I think that had been in the process, that had been existed before, and I've had several people ask me about that. 5-day week for town hall hours. And then a couple of different letters and questions about the town administrator contract situation. People want to know more about what's going on, and so ask for transparency. So I don't know how we handle that in a select board meeting.
It's executive session.
And then people requested that we discuss other applicants, opening the contract, with an open contract, other applicants for the town administrator.
Look, honestly, if you want to replace me, then please tell me so, and you can advertise my job. You can't open the applications unless you remove me from the position. That's the answer to that. If you want to remove me from the position, then the board needs to remove me from the position. Then you can open it to any applicant you like.
Okay, but I'm just bringing things for the agenda that people have asked me about, so
Well,
that's what this is for.
either the select board's going to step up and say I'm your town administrator until June 30th, or you're not. You want to put that on the agenda, please let me know, because I don't want to be here for that discussion. I either have the support of this board through June 30th, or I do not. So either
I
you
don't
guys
think
find...
that
Yes, that's exactly what's going on.
No, to be clear, I don't think that wasn't what the question that I intended to bring.
I don't know, I read the letter, it's pretty clear.
Oh, I don't know, I didn't read that letter.
That
I'm
letter's
talking
exactly
about
what you're saying.
Bernie?
Town.
So we're getting into a discussion.
That's
Yeah.
fine, I'm done.
Yeah,
I have no more to say on that.
okay.
Are you done with proposed agenda topics?
Yes.
Okay, so my proposed agenda topic is, which dovetails with some of Sarah's and the ones that I saw in correspondence, is I think that we need to have a discussion, not necessarily on August 20th, about governance, specifically addressing some of the things that have come up in citizens' concerns, because we can't actually have the discussion at the time when they come up. And there is a lot of confusion and misinformation about who does what, who can actually spend money on behalf of the town. There are some generic governance things that need to be clarified. For example, purchasing real estate goes through a town meeting and the select board. I just want to make sure we get some of that as part of that discussion for transparency, so that people understand how decisions are made. And that includes contracts in general. In general. Not just one person's contract, but
Okay, yeah.
the fact that we do contracts all year long for different positions. Well, just for 3, but like the nursing services, there's any number of different examples that we could talk about how contracts work, and when executive session is in play and when public session is in play. And I think the more that we educate people and ourselves, then some of these things don't keep cropping up over and over again and handled in various and sundry ways that don't really amount to anyone understanding fully or feeling like it's transparent when in fact it already is. So that's my request. You can take that, carve it, craft it, and then
Well, we'll
stick
go
it on.
over, because there was quite a bit there.
Yes, and then just put it onto an agenda that makes sense when you have the time.
Yeah.
Okay, are we on to announcements? And then we're going to do executive, I'm just looking at
Yeah,
the clock.
well, we have-
You only need
yeah.
the first executive session.
Yeah, we have
Okay. Ooh,
sign up for the Franklin
Oh.
County Solid Waste, Hazardous Waste Collection Day. It's going to be down at Greenfield Community College and the Orange Transfer Station. It will be September 21st. Let's see. And sign up for that is at franklincountyWasteDistrict.org.
Did you say they must register by September 13th?
September, what?
They have to register by September 13th.
Yeah, you have to register
yeah.
by September 13th. Yeah,
Oh, and then we're Gulf Road. Oh, wow.
yep, and then Gulf Road will be closed for tree maintenance, all those trees on the side of the road. Just easier if they close it right up and take care of it the week of August 19th. And at the bottom of the mountain right now, there is a sign, you know, the electronic sign that does say it's closed from like 6 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Okay,
So,
great, let's get that done.
okay. Let's see.
Recognition for service.
Yeah, any recognition for service?
Jill Fortier, I'd like to recognize her again
Yeah.
for her work on the
Yeah.
EMS and Mark.
Yeah,
Definitely. And congrats to the RecCom on an awesome summer program. They just concluded.
yeah,
And our senior center person who left,
Yeah,
yeah,
Robin.
Robin.
best wishes.
yeah. Okay. I guess we're gonna go to executive session, contract negotiation, Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21-2, to conduct strategic sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel, or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel, police union contract renewal. Not, we will be adjourning from session here.
Public session open.
And we won't
No.
be returning.
You'll-
Not to return.
Not to return.
Am I gonna be seen again?
We need a voice, a name vote.
So that's the motion?
That's the motion.
You need a second?
Need a second.
Second?
Okay.
B, yes?
Bernie, yes.
Sarah, yes, sorry.
Heath, yes.
David, yes.
Just needed to sign.
Yeah.
Lots of
Okay.
signing tonight.
All right, I guess we're adjourned.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, here's all these.
Yeah, she'll, okay.